Saving time is time is our most valuable asset. So if anything that I can do to save time while I'm still making a good decision is absolutely my top goal. And I think it's probably the goal for a lot of people out there.
But this is how building a consistent brand early will save you time in the long run, because you have made all those decisions early on.
Hello and welcome to the Maker Elevate Chat series. I'm Kate, your host, an award-winning brand designer, helping SMEs to elevate their business into a brand. Joining me today is Jing Reilly, a cyberpsychologist with more than 10 years marketing experience. Together, we are going to share reasons and tips as to why building a consistent brand will be of benefit to your business.
So the first reason that we're going to look at why investing in a consistent brand early is good is that it saves you time in the long run. And you're thinking, how will this save me time? Every business owner, we all know how short of time we have in a day. So let me save you some time. I wanted to bring in Jing to get some diverse perspectives on branding, especially those backed up with research. And this is your area of expertise, Jing.
It's really good to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to bring some scientific and evidence-based perspective to the topic of brands and branding.
So what I hear from clients quite often is that when they sit down to make a social media post or, create their invoices initially or a PowerPoint deck, it's very overwhelming in terms of what colors to use, what fonts to use, image style. There's actually quite a lot going on there in your visual branding, and there's a lot to think about. And my job is to help clients feel less overwhelmed by this process by making these decisions with them and deciding all those, what colors you'll use, what fonts you'll use, what way you'll present your brand. And every time you create content, whether it's a graphic, an email, or anything, you know yourself, there's plenty of things that your brand can go on. You know yourself, Jing, when you're creating something that, for anyone, for a PowerPoint or anything, you have to have a set of colors there just to start with. But it'd be good.
Yeah, and it's really important. I was just going to say, from a client perspective, because I was a marketing manager working with someone like yourself, and what happened is I actually find it very difficult to make that decision. And we don't always, and then I studied psychology and I realized we don't always know exactly what we want. So we need a bit of a guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is difficult. And I guess that's my job. My job is to take that overwhelm away from you when you're sitting down to do it. So this is how building a consistent brand early will save you time in the long run, because you have made all those decisions early on. So, you're not deciding each time you sit down, the hard decisions are made. And this is how it can save you time in the long run. Would you agree?
I think saving time is time is our most valuable asset. So if anything that I can do to save time while I'm still making a good decision is absolutely my top goal. And I think it's probably the goal for a lot of people out there. So I totally agree. I think when it comes to making decisions and saving time, I think it's really important to point out how we make decisions. As I said, it's quite difficult and we don't always know. And I want to have you, immediately I'm thinking about a book that I read. It's called Thinking Fast and Slow. I don't know if you have read it.
I haven't. No. Okay. Tell me a bit more about it.
It's a really good book, but you need to read it slowly because it's actually quite intense. But the book actually was written by a Nobel Prize winner, Daniel Kahneman, and it's his lifetime research that shows that we make decisions and we think in two systems. So to put it simply, system one, system two. And so system one is what we call the fast automatic system. And it does 98% of our thinking. But It's also where we make most mistakes. Because if you make quick decisions, 98%. Wow. And then the system two, which is the slow and an effortful system, that does the rest of 2% of our thinking. But using system two will prevent impulsive decisions. So when it comes to, creating the brand and branding, if we don't have that cohesive brand from early on, so what will happen is that we will be making decisions every time that we come across different images, different colors. And because the fast system, automatic system, does 98% of the thinking, and we will be making more mistakes. And over time, it's actually more time consuming and more financially costly as well.
Yeah.
But if we do have that and do have a consistent branding, which it takes time to go through that creative process with a brand designer, and you will do more thinking, use more reasoning and logic. But once the hard work is done, as you said, and you can reapply it, and then even when your system one is at play, and you're more comfortable, you feel more comfortable and safe because you're making the right decisions.
I mean, absolutely. So there's a very clear benefit there to a more considered approach, that 2% slow thinking prevents us from making those quick, non-strategic decisions, would you say? So how do we engage that side of our brains? If we're sitting down and we want to do this, how do we engage that side?
Yes, it is now something that quite easily done, because it's like, our system 2 is the rider and our system 1 is the elephant. The system 2 knows, have a plan and reasoning and want to do everything and knows exactly what to do. But trying to talk to the elephant would be like, no, I'm not doing it. So, and also that system 1 and 2, what happens is it's not simply switchable. And it's not like our brain is literally dividing into the two parts. But what we can do is that, using different techniques, for example, give more time and talk to somebody who have more experience. Mm-hmm. And, when you sit down and develop a strategy and going through a process, you are forced to use your reasoning and logic a lot more than just giving the two options and pick one, right? Mm. So, and one thing to point it out is that our system 1, you cannot stop our system 1. So for example, if I ask you 2 + 2, and I tell you, don't think about the answer, you can't do that.
Without thinking, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, just to summarize that, I suppose with anything in life really, and particularly when it comes to branding, we can save ourselves time in the long run. Doing that strategic thinking and sitting down to engage that side of the brain, and then the hard work is done. So our tip from today's video is save yourself time in the long run by making those decisions early on. Be guided by your designer to create those assets that you can reuse time and time again to stop that decision making each time. Thanks for joining us today, and thank you so much, Jing, for joining us.
You're welcome.